All right. Join us on the program right now, Mr. Todd Vandermine, NRA's Illinois lobbyist. Todd, how are you, sir?
I'm doing just peachy today, Cam.
Tell us about these new gun laws in the city of Chicago, Todd, and the removal of some of the old ones.
Well, I think there's bigger issues than that, but for the first time in 40-plus years, you don't have to register a gun in the city of Chicago. That was stricken down, and Mayor Daley's ordinance in a post-McDonald world about the Chicago firearms permit, the mandatory training, the registration was gutted by the city council Wednesday because of the preemption language that was included in the carry law that passed.
Let's talk about that as well. As a matter of fact, I actually had a question sent in via email earlier who wondered if you could talk about the Illinois Supreme Court decision, which as you say supports the Seventh Circuit. Basically said, yep, the Seventh Circuit got it right. What does this mean for concealed carry? What does it mean for carry generally in Colorado or in Illinois, Todd? I'm sorry, I've got Colorado on the line.
I think the first thing is that we have the first state Supreme Court in the nation, to my knowledge, that says that the Heller decision, McDonald, the right to keep and bear arms applies outside the home. For the last 4 years, you and I have heard from the anti-gunners, Brady Company et al., that it's in the home, and it only applies to handguns. That notion was hammered flat on an anvil today with a sledgehammer by the Illinois State Supreme Court. That's not how they interpret Heller and the Second Amendment, that the core part of Heller is the right to self-defense, and it applies outside the home.
Absolutely. And as you say, most of the courts in the wake of Heller-McDonald have, I think, Todd, gone out of their way to say, well, this didn't talk about carry, but as the Illinois State Supreme Court noted today, Heller and McDonald did not preclude carry outside the home. As a matter of fact, if you read the decisions, it makes it pretty clear that they've recognized a right outside of the home.
They absolutely did, and I mean they did a very good review of it. And so now the question is that, okay, we don't have carry permits available to us yet. We're in this interim phase here between the old law and the new law. So the question is, what do we have today? Because there is no effective way to carry today. You know, there's an exemption to the law if you have a carry permit, but carry permits don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So that puts us in this gray area that we're trying to legally sort through and figure out where we are. It certainly puts a nail in the coffin of trying to convict people who are in the system now that had a UUW, unlawful use of a weapons charge previously. I think it's going to force them to go back and vacate a bunch of prior convictions. So this is going to create a real mess for, the Cook County court system for a while. I think, you've got 15 state's attorneys in the state saying, we're not charging people. You got a FOIA card, you're good until we see the carry law come online.
Right.
So I think it bolsters their opinion from that standpoint. But, this was a blockbuster decision. I mean, everything that the anti-gunners have tried to hang their hat on about Heller only applying to in the home, is gone in Illinois as of today.
That is amazing. That is absolutely, and it's great to see because, as you say, Todd, we all sort of around the country view Illinois as like the last holdout. So to see such a strong decision from the state Supreme Court, that is absolutely fantastic news to see. Now,
it was also a unanimous decision.
Unanimous. Wow. So there's not even a dissent that we can dissect.
Nope. So, they keep pointing to the dissent in Heller as if it were the majority opinion.
Right.
But they didn't even get that here. No, the court was unanimous in the writing, and this is it. The right to keep and bear arms is an individual right, and I think they excoriated the previous Calademos decision from 1972 on the Morton Grove handgun ban, and I think today's just a red-letter day for gun owners in the state.
Given that one of those new ordinances in Chicago, Todd, deals with bans on carrying in restaurants, and we just saw this Supreme Court decision that said, hey, the right to carry extends out, the right to keep and bear arms extends outside of the home. Do you think this is challengeable?
Absolutely, because if you notice parts of the decision, it went on to use that it's not an unlimited right, it's not an unfettered right,
Right.
and it leaves open to meaningful, reasonable regulation, right?
Mm-hmm.
The operative word there is regulation, because under the carry law, under the preemption, it says the regulation of the carrying of a handgun by a licensee is an exclusive function of the state. The court today said we're going to recognize there are regulations. However, what the city tried to do, what the city is doing, clearly is a regulation in a time, place, and manner. And they are precluded from doing that under preemption. Now, another town, Vernon Hills, up in Lake County, was contemplating doing the same thing over at Dave & Buster's and denying them a special use permit for their, establishment. And today, in the Sun-Times newspaper, their municipal lawyer is quoted as saying that it was beyond the purview of the village, that state law precluded it. And now, so what Dave & Buster's has adopted that you're free to carry in their establishment, but they won't serve you alcohol. Okay? That's a business decision on their part.
Right.
But it's interesting that the lawyers in another town have come to just the opposite conclusion that the Chicago Law Department has. Now, Alderman Burke says, well, that's what we have attorneys for. And my response is, oh, you mean the same attorneys that told you were going to win McDonald? The same attorneys that said you were going to win Ezell? The same attorneys that said you were going to win Lawson and Gowder? Those attorneys?
Todd, Illinois never fails to surprise me, man.
Well, the other decision we got today was in People v. Coram. And
what's
we
that case?
had a case where the United States Department of Justice did not like the restoration of rights provision in Illinois law, and working with the state police attempted to bring a challenge against it. And today, the Illinois Supreme Court said that our restoration of rights process, including those who have been convicted of misdemeanors for domestic violence, is valid.
Wow. Todd, what is going on here in Illinois? Is it that the writing is on the wall, so to speak? I mean, we've seen some honest to goodness common sense here, not from we haven't seen any change of hearts, I would say, from the anti-gun politicians, but certainly gun owners have every reason to be really encouraged about what's happening in your state.
Yeah, I would think so. I think what we have is that despite the Chicago-centric control of our government, that and even though Cook County has 3 out of 7 judges on the state Supreme Court, I think that we have a pretty solid majority that is looking at things in what you and I would consider to be a reasonable and rational view. And I think the writings they came out with today are very strong and very pragmatic and follow Heller down the way you and I read it when it first in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And they're being reasonable about it. And I think that, even though it takes us a long time to get through the courts, I think that here in Illinois we have a good and we have a good opportunity. And that's why I think if there's a challenge to the Chicago restaurant ban, we have the opportunity to prevail. I think this has big implications on the Cook County semi-auto ban challenge in Wilson. I think that these 2 cases today should give great pause to any municipal law department that thinks they're going to find sneaky ways to regulate things that are beyond their purview.
Yep, absolutely. Todd, listen, we are almost out of time, sir, but again, I cannot thank you enough for coming on the show today, and congratulations. I mean, it really does seem like the gun control advocates are running headlong into reality, and again, they don't seem to like it much, but this is fantastic news for gun owners.
Well, John Wayne said life is tough, and it's tougher if you're stupid. I just don't know if they're going to get the idea yet.
I'm guessing not yet, but there's always hope, and we just have to keep up the education.